Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Today we're diving into a fight that I think every single one of us is facing every day. How do you stop that constant flood of messages, of tasks, from completely wrecking your ability to do deep, meaningful work? We're doing a deep dive into an article called The Knowledge Worker Focus Framework, Managing Information Overload and Deep Work.
And this is so critical. If you're someone who thinks for a living, if your job is about judgment, creativity, synthesis, your most valuable asset is your ability to think well.
Under pressure.
Under sustained pressure. And that asset is just under constant assault.
It really is. We've all felt it, that fragmentation. You check a chat message for 1 minute and then suddenly 45 minutes have just vanished.
Gone.
And the source material for this dive argues that protecting that focus, that attention, it's not just a personal challenge, it's a strategic one for the whole organization.
That's the core of it. Our mission today is to pull out a really practical playbook from this. We want to show you and your managers how to protect those cognitive peaks, how to cut out the noise, and make sure that focus creates high-value work, not just busy work.
Right.
And it frames this as a management decision, a mandatory one, not some self-help luxury.
So we'll be looking at the three big pillars here. Building routines to protect your attention, being almost surgical about reducing noisy tools, and then the big one, prioritizing high-impact tasks. Okay, so let's unpack this. Who is this framework really for? Who is a knowledge worker?
Let's start right there with the definition. The article is very clear. It's someone whose main output is insight, analysis, and decisions.
They're paid to think.
They're literally paid to think, to solve problems that don't have an instruction manual.
And that takes two kinds of thinking, doesn't it? You need that convergent reasoning to narrow things down, but you also need divergent creativity to come up with new ideas in the first place.
It's a constant juggling act. And the framework makes this really important distinction between exploration and exploitation.
Okay.
Routine work is all about exploitation. You're applying proven methods. You're following the map to be as efficient as possible.
Whereas knowledge workers, your engineers, your analysts, designers, academics, they're the ones driving exploration.
They're writing the map. They're experimenting, discovering, inventing.
And that has huge implications for managers. You can't manage someone writing the map the same way you manage someone following it.
You just can't. Knowledge workers need a lot of autonomy, but, and this is the danger, that autonomy without any structure leads straight to burnout. Their attention has to be protected.
And it needs protecting from an enemy we all know very well: information overload and context switching.
It's a triple threat, really. You have the sheer volume of data, then you have the tool sprawl, using 10 apps when 2 would do, and then the constant pings and notifications.
That trifecta, as you called it, is what crushes focus. But the hidden cost, the one that really gets you, is the context switching.
Oh, absolutely. Every time you jump from a strategy doc to your email, then over to a quick chat message, you don't just lose 2 minutes, you fragment your cognitive energy.
And you can't get it back.
You never get it back. Decisions get slower, errors that go up, and that deep work window just shatters into tiny, useless pieces.
So to help figure out where things are going wrong, the framework gives us these 5 friction categories. Basically, if you want deep work, you have to hunt these down and eliminate them.
Exactly. And some are pretty obvious.
Right, like physical friction, time zones, people being in different buildings, that stuff. And technical friction.
Glitchy tools, systems that don't talk to each other, the things that make you want to throw your laptop out the window.
We've all been there.
But the next ones are harder because they're cultural. They're social or cultural friction. This is when the team's norms actually reward being constantly interrupted.
Like the manager who sends an email at 9 p.m. and expects an instant reply.
Yes. That sets a terrible precedent that everyone has to be always on. It just destroys focus for the entire team.
Then you have contextual friction. So teams working in silos, maybe conflicting goals between departments.
So you spend all your time trying to figure out what you're even supposed to be doing instead of actually doing it.
And the last one is just simple, temporal friction. Not enough time.
Just not enough uninterrupted time. Your calendar is so packed with 30-minute meetings and notifications that you never get that clean 90-minute block you need for a hard problem.
Okay, so if the problem is that big, willpower alone isn't going to cut it. How does the framework turn this into actual practical routines?
It shifts the whole mindset from personal discipline to system design. The core idea is simple. Small, consistent rules beat big willpower.
I like that.
You stop hoping for focus and start treating attention like a scarce resource that needs to be guarded by rules.
So what are the rules for an individual?
Two big ones. First, you have to time box your deep work. Block out 60 to 90-minute sessions during your peak hours. Put it on your calendar. Make it non-negotiable.
Like a meeting with your most important client.
A meeting with your brain. And second, and this is the hard one for a lot of people, you have to batch your communication.
Meaning you only check email and chat at specific times.
Right. Maybe at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. That's it. For those 30-minute windows, you process everything. The rest of the day, it's off. You become the owner of your inbox, not its victim.
That feels like a huge psychological shift. That fear of missing something important.
It is. But that's where the team rules come in. Because if everyone is doing it, it's not a personal failure. It's the team's operating system.
So for the team, it's about signal management.
Exactly. Agree on quiet hours. Have a clear escalation path for a real emergency. So only the true fires get through. Everything else can wait for the next communication window.
And what about making sure the team is actually learning and getting better, not just slowing down?
That's the review cadence. The framework suggests a quick daily triage, not a status meeting, a what's blocking you meeting. Then a weekly planning session. And, very importantly, a bi-weekly retrospective where you talk about the focus experiments. Did the batching work? Did we respect the deep work blocks? You track it and you improve.
This is where things get really interesting for me, connecting all this to technology. Because tools are either the problem or they're a huge part of the solution.
They have to amplify thinking, not just create more noise. I mean, think about it. If your system makes you constantly jump between screens, re-enter the same data, it's actively working against your ability to think clearly.
Which brings us straight to generative AI. The source material even brings up platforms like IBM WatsonX.ai. Now, how does AI fit in? Because it feels like it could just be another distraction.
That's the paradox. But its strategic value is in what you could call cognitive offloading.
Meaning?
It takes over the rote parts of the job. It can do the initial research in seconds. It can draft summaries, automate data gathering, pull context from your company's entire knowledge base.
So AI isn't replacing the thinker. It's freeing the thinker up from the busy work that precedes the thinking.
That's it exactly. The knowledge worker's job shifts from being a data searcher to a conclusion validator. AI brings you the options, and you get your precious 60 minutes back to focus on the hard part, making the right decision.
But that only works if your data and your content systems are in order to begin with.
You've hit on the prerequisite.
Yeah.
You have to invest in data integration. You need one source of truth. You need a standardized content system, a good wiki, so that asynchronous work is even possible.
This all leads to the biggest hurdle, I think, which is the management strategy. How does a manager lead this kind of team without falling back into old habits, like micromanagement?
It's a total shift. Managers have to move from watching activity to measuring outcomes. So less about time cards, more about outcome metrics and role clarity.
Define success with, say, 3 key metrics and a clear list of responsibilities.
And that's it. But you have to be rigorous. A task isn't just look into the sales data. A task is develop a testable hypothesis about why Q3 sales dip and define what done looks like.
So you're measuring the impact, not the hours logged.
Precisely. The metric isn't how many lines of code were written. It's whether server downtime decreased.
And the manager also becomes the curator of knowledge for the team.
A huge part of the role. You have to build simple systems to capture decisions, templates, lessons learned. So if your star analyst leaves, her brain doesn't leave with her. All that knowledge is captured.
And maybe most importantly, the manager has to walk the walk.
Oh, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If you're the manager bragging about answering emails at midnight, this whole framework collapses on day one. You have to model deep work and a sustainable pace.
So let's wrap this all up. An organization hears this. They're sold on the idea. What's the roadmap? How do they start?
You start small. Step 1 is to assess the current state. You take an inventory of your tools, you map out how information actually flows, and you identify your distraction hotspots. Where's the time leaking?
Then you run a pilot.
A focused 4 to 6 week pilot with one team. You implement the time boxing, the communication batching, and you measure everything. What happened to output quality, to cycle time?
You prove the concept.
You prove the concept. Then finally, you scale with governance. You create simple playbooks, you use those decision logs from the pilot, and you create lightweight standards that everyone can follow.
It all comes back to that old Peter Drucker idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That the productivity of the knowledge worker is the key asset for any modern company.
It absolutely is. And the big strategic takeaway for you, the listener, is this. Protecting attention is probably the highest leverage move you can make in business today. This framework is how you turn all that raw, noisy data into clear, high-quality decisions.
So it's about refining your personal operating system and your organizations. And maybe a good place to start is to just ask yourself, what is one simple, consistent rule you could implement tomorrow to protect your focus?
Yeah. And how would you measure its success?
Yeah.
Is the real barrier a cultural norm in your team? And if it is, what's the first small step you can take to start changing it? Start small, measure, and iterate.
A fantastic deep dive into a framework that I think really could define the future of work efficiency. Thank you for joining us for such a critical conversation.
My pleasure. These are the strategies that really matter.
And thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast. If you want to stay ahead in this incredibly fast-moving world, make sure you subscribe to the podcast for more strategic insights. And you can read the full article, Knowledge Worker Focus Framework by Felix Römer. The link is right there in the show notes. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.